JPMorgan Chase is under federal criminal investigation over its sale of mortgage securities. The $2.4 trillion financial institution is the nation's largest by assets, and it could just be the first to face criminal sanctions over some of the practices that contribute.
Well, they revealed that they're under both civil and criminal investigation from both state regulators, state authorities, and the Department of Justice. And this will be the first really serious investigation into criminal activity or potentially criminal activity by the federal government into anything involving the large financial institutions that were really at the center of the 2008 financial crisis. And the fact that they are being investigated over mortgage securities sold between 2005 and 2007 means we really are talking about the stuff that was involved in the crisis, the really bad stuff that blew up the global economy. So I think this is a really surprising development for a lot of people who've been watching the federal government on this front. You know, that the Obama administration has shown no interest in holding these banks criminally accountable, and regulators in general have sort of occasionally waved their hands about wrongdoing at banks, then offered very light sentences, or not even sentences, because no one actually goes to jail. There's very light financial penalties that are like, equivalent to a Tuesday or a Wednesday's worth of profit for these companies. So this could be a very serious investigation that results in some serious accountability. It could also just end up going the way of all the other prior investigations, a few $1 million, and the book is closed.
I mean, part of the problem, though, with doing anything about what happened in 2008, the line that you always hear from the administration and from regulators is, well, look, I mean, there was so much deregulation during the Clinton era and then during the George W. Bush era that ultimately a lot of the stuff that they were doing wasn't even illegal. They were doing stuff that was perfectly legit. It was just crazy. What exactly are these charges, and exactly what laws are they claiming that they've broken?
Well, we'll see. We'll see what comes out of the investigation. But while it's true that many of the activities that happened during the crisis were effectively deregulated a decade or so before, many other things were not. Basic securities laws still hold. So you have to make certain disclosures to people who you sell securities to. Those disclosures have to be accurate. If you don't give people proper disclosures ahead of time, if you mislead your investors, essentially, that's a straightforward violation of securities laws. And we didn't repeal the Securities Exchange Act of 1933 before the crisis. That still holds. Same thing goes for mortgage lending. You have to have certain standards for the ability for a borrower to repay things. You have to tell people what kind of mortgage they're getting when you sell them the mortgage. If you don't do that, then that's fraud. So there are very straightforward sort of good salesman practices, essentially, that the bank is being investigated for potentially violating right now. And this type of practice seemed to have gone on, in a very widespread manner. It's one of the reasons why we saw so much weird stuff going on with foreclosure documents over the past few years, because banks didn't keep track of the documents they needed to prove that they actually owned the mortgages that they were selling to people in these securities. In many cases, they didn't even really know what they were putting into the securities. And in other cases, they knew perfectly well what was going into the securities and didn't tell people what they knew.